Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again today. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and today and maybe for the next couple of trips I'm going to do something different, and I am going to promise you that I am going to really lean on, stick to, not waver from throwing plastics. And we're talking worms and creature baits. I'll be throwing T-rigs, weightless worms, wacky worms, Niko rigs, drop shots, beavers, brush hogs, crayfish type things. All of those kind of slow-moving, bottom-bouncing, crawling baits. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because, you know, you can come out here on any given day and there could be 1,000 guys out here fishing, and as you talk to different people, one guy will tell you that he's just raking them on worms. The next guy will say, man, I can't buy a bite on a worm, but I'm really killing them on crankbaits. And as you go down the line, everybody, let's say it's a good day, everybody's catching fish, but a lot of times they're all catching them on different things. And the reason being is that they are fishing their confidence baits. And the reason that whoever it is catching how many ever fish he's catching on that particular confidence bait of his is because he's put time in it and he knows the nuances of that particular bait. Now, I mentioned that I will be fishing worms and creature style baits, and I'm going to have them rigged up in so many different ways that I can cover a number of different situations here. Now, I'm not a big crankbait guy. The guys that I know that are real good with crankbaits, and they may only have one worm or two rods with worms on them. They may have 5 rods with crankbaits, and those crankbaits are going to be different sizes, different colors. They're going to be on different rods with different leader setups, and they're covering the full spectrum of the crankbaits. So just kind of take that into consideration. You don't have to be an expert on every single bait that's out here, but if you get 2 or 3 of them and get really good at them and know how to dial those baits in, I think you're going to do pretty good out here on the Delta. And those baits are going to be a topwater bait, a punching bait, worms and creature baits, things that you could flip or punch. What I say, topwaters, crankbaits, and chatterbaits. If you can master those 5 baits, you're probably going to catch a lot of fish out here. So let's get going. And again, the next couple days, I'm just going to be fishing worms. Hopefully I'll get some action for you, and I'll show you how I'm setting up when I'm catching those fish, and why I'm setting up, and why I'm changing and moving from worm to worm to worm, and not, switching baits. So let's see what happens, and we'll get a rod in the water now and see if we can't start catching some fish. Okay, first one of the night. It's not a big one, but hey, it's a fish. Yes, sir. They can't all be big. Woo! Ah! Roughing up the suspect here. Okay, we're going to call it a wrap for this evening. It's about 6 o'clock. It's going to get dark here in a minute. And caught 7 or 8 fish tonight, nothing big. Some small ones, some keepers. I probably caught 5 keepers, but all of them were on that green pumpkin Niko. Okay, we just watched that 3 to 4 hour session in the evening. We're jumping ahead 2 days, and we're going to do a morning session. We're going to do a high outgoing tide. I'm going to stick with plastics, lots of worms, lots of different techniques, and we're going to see if this beaded worm technique stands out again. Remember to watch to the end of the video, because I will fill you in on how I set up that beaded worm, and we'll talk about why you should be throwing that. So let's check out what happens this morning. What you've watched in this video is one, I'd say a 3.5 hour evening session that I came out on, and this morning was about a 3.5 hour morning session. And don't let the sun fool you, it was chilly. Cold front moved in this morning, and the fishing was very tough. And I told you I was going to really focus in on the worms, and I'm stopping the video at this point because I think I've made my point. And my point is, when you're out here, and whether you're fishing topwaters or crankbaits or worming like I was, you're going to find that you have certain confidence baits. And usually those confidence baits are baits that you tend to fish more. You catch fish on them, and you really start to dial in on whatever technique you're fishing. Now, I have been fishing worms, and I probably had 5 different worm setups on deck, and I only found one particular setup that was catching fish. I think out of the 10 or 12 fish that I've caught in these 2 sessions, I think 99% of them, I might have caught one on a drop shot. Everything else is on a weightless 5-inch Niko rigged with a red bead. And what that kind of demonstrates to me is, although I tried drop shot, wacky, Niko, I did some light punching, some flipping, everything on plastics, the only thing they wanted was this. And if I was not real in tune with worm fishing, it wasn't one of the things that I like to do, I may not have caught any fish, because I may have thrown a wacky rig out there and they just weren't hitting it. Today they wanted this. So I'll go over real quickly how I rigged this up, and I really would suggest, if you're not trying a bead out in front of your worms, give that a try. And it's a real simple way to, you're going to put a bobber stop on, a red bead, and then the hook of your choice. This happens to be an inline worm hook. I think it's called a chicken rig or a crazy rig. I don't know what you call it, but it's just having the, no, it's not a very good rig here. This worm's pretty tore up, but it's having the worm pulled up on the line. And that does a couple things. It puts the hook back farther in the worm, and it also helps the worm to fall like this rather than like this. With that bead up there, it's just a trigger factor. And the other way you can rig this is if you don't want to pull it up the line, you can just basically rig it Texas style with the head of the worm just right in here, pulled up. And again, this worm is in pretty bad shape, pulled up regularly. That's the way to rig that. Now, the other thing that I have been working, and I would suggest you not only have this for weightless situations, but you try a bead when you're using a weight. And this, obviously, I've got a just a regular style worm hook on this, and I have a beaver on here, but I could use a worm on here. I can use a brush hog or whatever bait that I think they're biting on. That gives you the opportunity to be able to pitch this bait into a little heavier cover, maybe drape it over a tule, do whatever you're doing out here to get it to move down to the bottom quicker. And sometimes they will react to this bait moving quicker. Other days they're going to react to it when you are just dead sticking a weightless style bait. So 2 ways you can rig this style of bead. They both work, and again, as you get heavier and heavier into worm fishing, if you're not already into the worm fishing situation, you're going to find that not only the red beads and the wackies and the Nikos and all the different styles of worming that you may have in your bag of tricks, you got to have them all on deck, because sometimes one of them is going to stand out, and that's the one that's going to catch the fish for you. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I hope you're catching fish out there, and we'll see you guys on the river.